I'm David Kenneth DeBruce, and this is RoomService. I've elevated the entire concept of room service to find, feature, and deliver to you the best places to stay, eat, visit, play, and shop, both at home and when traveling. Join me here and online at RoomService.com as we personally experience each place, searching out the best quality, outstanding customer care, and the authentic experience. And by the way, we're gonna have fun doing it with you too. Today we're at Gung Fu, Ottawa's newest Bao sensation. Gung Fu is all about the Bao.
So we started small and we had a small following, but they were almost fanatic. They just kind of like grew gradually. I just sort of kept the scope of our exposure and the operation of the business within our means to make an impact. And as our processes and recipes matured and even the brand grew up a bit and we learned some things and shifted sort of focus and direction a couple of times, but it was always about the steam buns, about the Bao. It all started with when I was working in kitchens and the city of Ottawa put out a call for new street food vendors. I figured I'd just sort of go through the motions and to feel it out, to get to know what the process is like. And yeah, and so when they offered me that spot, I was like, okay, that's great. Now I need to find some money. And so I did an Indiegogo campaign, raised about half of the amount I needed for the cart. And then from there got friends and family that saw the traction that the Indiegogo campaign built, and they were like, hey, we'll help you out.
The names placed on the wall above the kitchen are to honor the contributors to Gung Fu's original crowdfunding campaign. Preparation of the Bao buns is key and created by expert hands.
It's similar to a white bread. So it's yeast leaven primarily. It's also got some baking powder, baking soda in there to sort of condition the dough, and it's got a significant amount of, in this case because we're doing the vegan ones, it's coconut oil. So it's a bit fussy in the same way that like a brioche would be fussy, not exactly, but like it gets quite soft.
The brisket Bao, my personal favorite, and all other dishes are scratch made in Gung Fu's kitchen.
They get the color, and the skin, the outside of the bun gets a little like, yeah, a little tougher, a little not tacky, like not sticky because it's not that much sugar, but it definitely gets like when you bite through it and you bite through one of those and you bite through one of those, you can tell the difference almost, you know.
So then I was invited to make some of their delicious turducken su mai.
So how this works? One on wrapper brush. You get 3 per basket, so 1, 2. Okay.
Things didn't go well at first, but it's harder than you think.
This right here is where you're running into your problem. You just hold it like this, put your fingers on the bottom, and then use your thumb and rotate with like, I'm not really even letting, yeah, there you go. That's what I want to see.
That's it.
Yep. Then you bring it up. and you're back, and you don't have like the really
that's
big
pretty.
dips.
That's the sumai master.
You could be my sumai prep. You know what I'm saying?
Sumai PP for short.
Sumai.
It's an honor. That's
I'm not referring to you as my sumai PP.
No, please don't do that.
Next, my kitchen skills were put on display. Well, they soon grabbed my whisk and banished me from the kitchen and showed me how they can make 100 sumai every 30 minutes. Adam served our Gung Fu feast.
I've been waiting an hour for this.
Get out.
We had brisket, tofu, pork, and fried chicken baos, the best slaw I've ever tasted, and of course my beautiful turducken sumai.
It's like a hoisin-based pork, and oh my god, it's so good. Okay, you need to try this.
Gung Fu is a Chinese word that, to my best understanding of it, means accomplishment through hard work and dedication. We try to take that on in any of the things we do. For our staff, it wasn't just about finding exactly the right people with the right skill sets. It was also about taking people on a journey, right? Like bringing someone in with less experience, but with the right attitude and work ethic to take it on and go on that journey of Gung Fu, you know, like learning and growing with the business.
We had such a great time here at Gung Fu. Tarek and all the staff were so much fun and loved having us here. Well, mostly all of them. A favorite for me is a night out at the Symphony. The Ottawa Symphony has a long history of extraordinary performances leading into the new 2019 season. There's so much more behind the scenes at the OSO, so today we want to show you a few things you may not know.
There's a special part of my work that I like very much. In sport, you could call it scouting almost, you know? You go around, you see what the talent is. You might have noticed that about 30 to 35 of our players are students from the University of Ottawa. And this is something, we have an agreement with the university, and together we give them the experience of playing also. They're young professionals, and they will also go very far in their career. Now this week was very, very special because our soloist is Blake Pouliot. And Blake Pouliot I've known for a very long time because I used to conduct the Toronto Symphony Youth Orchestra. Blake came into the orchestra when he was 11. We were playing a Mahler First Symphony, and the second rehearsal he knew the whole thing by heart. I can't wait to introduce Blake to the orchestra. A lot of people do not know him because he's still what we call a up-and-coming soloist, but that won't last for long. He's one of those, definitely one of those really great players that's going to go very, very far.
The best analogy in terms of describing a concertmaster's job is sort of like the captain of a hockey team. So the conductor would be the coach, and then you have this great big team. In our case with the OSO, it's 100-ish people on our team, and it's my job to sort of be the captain of that team. So I'm responsible for all of the bowings in the string section. I'm responsible for the way of playing. As a concertmaster, you're there all the time, and you're there to sort of be a pillar to maintain a certain set of expectations. So on average, outside of my rehearsals, I would practice 3 or 4 hours a day, 6, maybe 7 days a week. So it's a job I enjoy tremendously and a part of my career that's one of my favorite things to do.
more than just exercise. We're teaching movement, and we're teaching ways that we can be in our body and live in our body and have the freedom in our body that doesn't just pertain to being the studio, but really we're all doing this so that we can step out and take on more of what life has to offer us. What differentiates us here at Pilates Space is not just that we're offering, a form of exercise, like we sort of said before, but it is more than that. It's functional movement, and it relates to how we walk out the door and how we can, take on what life has to offer us. So David spoke a lot about the authentic experience, and I think if I think of other entrepreneurs and other businesses in the city that, we do take pride in the things that we do, and we all have different levels of interest and what we want to bring to the city. And so when David was talking about the authentic experience, I thought, yeah, I guess we do fall within that. We offer something real to our clients. We treat everyone equal when they walk through the door, and everyone is of equal importance, because what we want to do is just bring the best out of everyone in what abilities they have in their own body. But it is a study, and what's so interesting, because we've been in business for 15 years, is there are clients who have been with us that long. They're clearly celebrating a birthday every year, but it's almost as if they're getting a little bit younger before our eyes every year, and it's because they've continued on this study. It isn't a quick fix, but really anything that's worthwhile, takes time and commitment, doesn't it? So I would say give this a chance, because it probably has something to offer you that you don't even know yet. If you were to learn, those fundamentals and give it a couple of months to see how it applies to daily life, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
The Museum of Nature is definitely an Ottawa favorite and is indeed the matriarch of our national museums and galleries. We've been invited for a private tour. Today we'll also visit a butterfly tropical experience and be here for the grand opening of the museum's newest exhibit called Survival of the Slowest. Visiting the Museum of Nature is always a fun, insightful, and interactive experience. And today will be no different. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Canadian Museum of Nature.
Thank you very much.
And this is actually Canada's first national museum. It was purpose-built. It opened in 1912, and originally it had every national museum that now exists here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and as they grew up, they moved out. Museum of Man was here way back when. That became Museum of Civilization, now Museum of History. The Art Gallery, they all started here. So it was originally Canada's national museum. It was fully renovated from the inside out at an astronomical cost of $230 million, which it needed. And so it's the old building on the outside and a completely modern museum on the inside.
The architecture is amazing.
Yeah.
The stone carvings around the pediments.
And there's room for more. I'd kind of like to have a stone.
Really?
Yeah, there's a few of the, I want to call them the shields.
Yeah. But
there's some where there's sort of still a blank slate.
Is there room for my face up there? Or like...
So we're in the rotunda. In the depths of winter, February 1916, the Parliament buildings, the center block, burned to the ground.
Yes.
It was in the depths of World War I. Things were not going well, so there were all kinds of conspiracy theories about it. Mm-hmm. But the very next day, Parliament moved here into this building. Wow. And the House of Commons sat here. So actually, I am right now about where the Prime Minister, who was Sir Robert Borden, would have been seated. Over there would be Sir Wilfrid Laurier, and the throne was right here. So the Speaker of the House was right here, where there's now an elevator shaft. And so one other fun fact, if the House of Commons was here, guess where the Senate might have been sitting?
Oh God, probably some restaurant downtown or something.
And I love this, and I kid you not, in what is now the Fossil Gallery.
Really? Oh no.
Our claim to fame is that we're over 80% real fossils. So our scientists are active, and actually this is a good place to go because you'll see here a new species of dinosaur, a horned dinosaur, which is one of our specialties, was discovered by an American, and he was into nuclear physics. Does that make you a nuclear physicist? I think so.
Yes, it does, actually.
So he was a nuclear physicist, still is, I guess, a nuclear physicist. He bought his retirement home in Montana, and interestingly, he got somewhat amateur but volunteer help from paleontologists to help him excavate it.
That would be fun.
He built his own road to get it out.
Wow.
First time out, he found this, the new species of dinosaur. He wanted the dinosaur to get scientifically treated and identified. Yes. So he came to our front desk and said, I've got a dinosaur and I'd like to meet your paleontologist.
How many times does that happen in
Not
your
very
lifetime?
often. Yeah. And eventually that led to us acquiring, which is now called Spiclipius shiporum, so named after Bill Shipp, who's the nuclear physicist. And he found this bone and thought there was something funny about maybe having bone disease. He brought it to a friend of his, checked it out, and said, yeah, this dinosaur had bone disease. So you can see this depiction. This dinosaur lived to full age, but would have spent a third of its life on 3 legs.
Wow.
Yeah, anyway, interesting.
That's amazing. He could stand on 3 limbs with the weight.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're in our mammal gallery.
This is incredible.
Yeah, and the way I like to think about the mammal gallery, because you see it's all dioramas. And it's dioramas of the iconic Canadian mammals. And you can see it's done very realistically. And if you go back in time, people wouldn't have had the means to travel to parks or travel across Canada. There were no large screen TVs at home where you could watch the nature show.
That's right.
So the only way you're going to get a real feeling of, you know, how grand and amazing these animals are would be to come, like, to our museum and to see them in what would be a representation of their natural habitat. So I like to kind of call these the TV sets of their time, if you will. Like,
absolutely.
You'd come in here and you'd be immersed in sort of a TV or a movie kind of, for the time, nature show.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't think anybody would ever make the investment that would be required to do this anymore. But then, given that there were no TVs and all that stuff, this is where you put it, because people would come and experience it here.
But I think it's still so relevant, though.
Yeah.
To come and see this is the next best thing to seeing it real, and it's certainly nothing like watching it on TV, no matter how big your screen is. And it's amazing. Yeah.
So we're entering the Canada Goose Arctic Gallery. We opened this, really, for us it was to commemorate Canada 150 and the 150th of Canada in 2017. So we opened on June 21st, 2017, so National Indigenous Day. It tells the story of the Arctic. So for us it was a bit different because it was our first kind of geographic, if you will, gallery. But the Arctic is about 40% of Canada. A few people go there. And it's different than most people think, and it's changing fast. This is a multimedia installation, and if you haven't, you have to do this. You got to touch it. So it's actually ice.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it melts. It melts in your hands.
That's amazing.
We did this in partnership with the National Film Board. Underneath here is a sculpture. It's steel, and it's sculpted in the shape of sea ice if it got pushed up by the sea. I mean, the idea, you know, and it's probably more subconscious to people than maybe it should be, but, you know, with human touch, you know, you're melting the ice. Welcome, David, to Survival of the Slowest.
Thank you very much.
So this is a show, it's really about evolution, you know, because we have the National Natural History Collection, and, you know, we track really the Earth from the beginning, you know, from 4.3 billion years ago, and dinosaurs and you name it. And all of that shows how evolution leads to adaptation. Well, sometimes, surprisingly, adaptations to be slow can be an advantage. And this show is kind of all about those creatures. It's a live animal show. We did it with Little Race Nature Centers.
And they're a big rescue center just outside Ottawa.
Yeah, all of them except for the sloth are rescued. And the sloth was bred by a veterinarian really for this purpose. We could get to know kind of what these animals are about. Yeah, I'm all in the spirit of conservation.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Well, let's go in and see what's happening
in there.
Okay,
great, thanks.
Good,
okay.
Good.
On our way into the exhibit, we learned that Survival of the Slowest is produced with Little Ray's Nature Center. Their rescue volunteers and zookeepers were on hand to join our tour and educate us on the animals we were going to meet. We first met up with Dylan, who talked about the ball snake.
They're closely related to like the big snakes, like the big constrictors, but these guys, incredibly docile. They're so docile, in fact, that in Africa, where they're from, if certain tribes, if they find them dead, they will put up a gravesite for it, because they are these animals. Some snakes, they get very defensive. These guys, you don't hurt them, they don't care. Oh wow.
Dylan said it was almost Hammer time. I was excited I'd get to dance like MC Hammer.
I was showing these guys around, and wondering where Hammer went.
But I wasn't disappointed with the real Hammer.
This is Hammer, he's a chicken.
Oh my god.
No, Hammer is our green iguana. So he's our male. We have 2 other females back in Ottawa.
So he was a pet, so he's friendly with humans.
Absolutely. Hammer is extremely friendly. He loves people. He loves attention. That's what she was just saying. The tail is supposed to.
Wow.
Good boy, Hammer.
It's rough.
Yeah, his scales are very, very rough.
Yeah.
Even with different species of snakes, some of their scales are very rigid and bumpy. Some of them are extremely, extremely smooth. Are you ready to go home?
We said goodbye to Hammer and began to wrap up our truly insightful look into Canada's Museum of Nature, and indeed how our country's natural evolution is tied to our own existence today. What a great way to spend our day.